I remember walking in when I was 7 years of age. I could smell the sweat and people were whacking their bags. I never left one to walk through the doors. It's been the dream ever since I opened my eyes. Boxing's just my life. My fighting style will be aggressive, speed, power, the lot. I'm in the middle of the ring, ready to go whenever. I don't mind having a bit of a tear up, that's my guilty pleasure. Definitely need a good coach behind me, which I have in Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis, and obviously my dad. It's a massive dream for me to fight at Old Trafford. Being from Manchester as well, it'll be a great privilege to box there. Been here my whole life, but I'm home now. Who is Pat Brown? A lad from Manchester, born and bred.
So, you know why you're all here. You're going to hear from Pat, but you're also going to hear from some people that are instrumental in his life. You're going to hear from the men in the gym. You're going to hear from the promoter. You're going to hear from the man that took him round to different promoters to try and do some business. Then we're going to hear from some of you half a dozen questions at the end. We're not standing on ceremony. There's no auction, there's no raffle, there's no mingling, there's no stand-up, sit-down bingo. It's just me, a few boxing people, and then Pat will come in, and we'll make, to be honest with you, if we just make loads of noise and have a bit of a laugh, that way, in an hour's time, we can all be outside in the Northern Quarter, having a pint or having whatever it is we like. So exactly, I knew you'd like that. So the first band I'm going to bring up to the stage is the promoter, and the man who will be promoting, guiding, looking after, and marvelling at Pat, because unlike a lot of you, Eddie needs to see him in the flesh. Eddie Hearn, come on stage. Any way you like, Ed. Eddie, first of all, it's a delight to be here at such short notice, and what a crowd, by the way. Is that one working?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start. They gave me a cheer rather than a boo. You know, I mean, that's good.
If you don't mind me saying so, it was a monster cheer.
No, it's going that way. Listen, it's I'm blown away by this. I've got to say, and when Pat joins us shortly,
he will be as
make
well.
Some noise, because he was petrified that you lot wouldn't turn up. Yeah. Right? I mean, Sam Jones gave it the big sell. Oh, there'll be hundreds there. But he says that all the time. And I know that Pat was particularly worried. On one day's notice, this is an incredible turnout. Not just that, the energy, the excitement, it's what we love. Yeah. You know, these scenes from this press conference will be seen around the world.
And your little press conference outside on the steps, that will go global, that will go viral.
But listen, we just want to have a great time. Yeah. We want something that we can believe in. Yeah. We want someone that we can get behind.
A man we can follow.
And I've watched Pat Brown for many years. I know he can fight. But when I sat down with him, I thought, I like this geezer. He's proper.
Were you surprised how calm he is, Ed? Like, just, I mean, I just talked to him backstage.
Yeah, calm.
The kid's really calm. How's he that calm? He's only a
calm, bright, knows what he wants, great head on his shoulders, but more importantly, massive fan base. Yeah. And that takes a fighter to a certain level. I said to Pat today, you have got a complete straight road in front of you. You're going to get every opportunity to headline in Manchester, to fight all over the country, to box in America, to box in Saudi Arabia. The only thing that can beat you is you not working hard or you not being good enough. Yeah. And I don't think either of those apply. So if we do our job, if the team do their job, and if all of these people get behind this journey, we're going to have so much fun over the next few years. I can't wait.
Yeah. You know what? So there's about 300 or so in here tonight. The next time we do one of these for Pat, maybe when he has his first fight or maybe in a year's time, if we just get a gathering, we'll need a lot more than 300 seats. We'll need a couple of thousand just for a gathering like this, because I'll let you in the secret. I'm such an expert on crowds. When I came here tonight, I spoke to the security. I said, look, do yourself a favour. Take out the back 10 rows. Take out the back 10 rows so it's not empty. So I had no idea on a Tuesday night in the middle of the Northern Quarter, he could pull up 300 people with flags, with noise, with chanting, with singing, with foghorns. No idea. Ed, one thing, and it's a great problem to have. How do you keep someone like Pat on track because he wants to fight world champions. I've got some information, same information you've got. He wants to fight the number one. He'd fight for the British title in his first fight. Sometimes fighters, you need to talk to them a little bit to keep them, I don't know, to keep them just a little bit more realistic. Is that going to be easy or hard with Pat?
I think Pat's sensible, and I think you've got a great team. You know, you've got Jamie Moore, you've got Nigel Travis, you've got Sam. They're going to move at the right pace. Activity is key more than anything. 6 to 8 fights in year one. You know, we've got a very special event that we're planning, all being well, in March in Manchester for the big kickoff for the debut. You know, we want to see him headline his own show.
So he'll top the bill on his first fight, officially top the bill, not that rubbish, top the bill official.
That's the plan. And with this kind of support, this kind of following, you know, we've got to get off to a fly. There's a lot of effort that's gone into today because a lot of people say to me, who should we look out for? Who's the next big star of British boxing? And we've put our, not just our money where our mouth is, but our time and our effort with our mouth is to say that we believe Pat Brown is the next big star in British boxing.
And whose idea was it to launch, because in all my years, I've never known a launch like this. I mean, John Conti, the great light heavyweight, he turned pro at the Playboy Club, being held up by Playboy bunnies. Other guys have just turned pro in a normal conference or even in someone's office. So whose idea was it to get this venue, to get these people out on a Tuesday night, to get that film made and to make it look like this? Because this is different, Eddie.
Yeah, but it's just about the hype. If you're going to do something, do it properly, right? If we're going to do this, let's give it 110% across the board. And that goes for us, that goes for Pat, that goes for all you guys. Yeah. Let's get behind it. Let's go on an incredible journey that we can really create great moments, great memories for. And, you know, it's all about hype. It's all about perception. Yeah. These people know who Pat Brown is. We've got to tell the world who Pat Brown is. We've got to tell the story. I want to find out more about him on the building sites in the early hours of the morning. I want to find out more about days down Moss Side with Nigel Travis. I want to know about him going to Old Trafford. I want to know about little nights out he's had with some of you lot as well.
Most of this lot, by the looks of it.
But that's what he is. He's a fighter that people can relate to. Yeah. He's a man of the people. He's a person of this city. And you'll see that support travel with him, not just in Manchester, but around the country and hopefully around the world.
Do we need, or did British boxing need, it sounds a bit over the top, but did we need a Pat? Did we need, right now, we got great fighters and great nights and great this and great that, but did we need a Pat Brown? Did we need a man of the people?
We do. You know, I think when you look at, you know, obviously Ricky Hatton's the greatest example of fighters from this city. We've got some great fighters now. I mean, at so many different levels. I mean, you've got Jack Catterall here tonight. Round of applause for Jack Catterall in the front row as well, right? You know, definite top 5 pound for pound star of British boxing, going to be fighting for the world championship, but so much young talent as well. And some people here follow their boxing, some might not follow it so closely. Round of applause also for Cameron Vong here at the front, one of our top young talents. He fights Gavin Gwynn on Saturday in Birmingham. It's a big step up from him, but you've got to keep the conveyor belt of talent going. And I just, you know, there was something sitting down with Pat, the way he conversed, the way he carries himself, you know, the way I know this city gets behind people. He was the chosen one to say he's the one we're going to stick it all behind over these next couple of years and really see where we can go and what kind of fun we can have.
Now, we're going to hear from Sam Jones, the manager. We're going to hear from Nigel. We're going to hear from Jamie. But, Ed, when you say, you know, you've got your people out there, and I know I saw you out in Paris at the Olympics. So you say, you know, I fancy Pat Brown, I fancy a little bit of Pat Brown. Where do you go? Give us a bit of an insight, just quickly, on how you then go about from saying, I fancy Pat Brown, to sitting down with Pat Brown, to getting Pat Brown's signature on a contract. How is that? How does that happen?
Well, firstly, Sam Jones calls me. He's trying to sign Pat Brown. He's telling me, you better get your checkbook out for this kid. I'm telling you now, he's massive, going to sell thousands.
We'll hear from Sam in a minute,
He's the greatest thing you've ever seen. But he says that about nearly every fighter that he represents as well. So you do have to do your little bit of own research. I follow every fighter in Team GB. You know, I met Pat Brown for the first time when I went to Moss Side to Nigel Travis's gym to do some stuff in the community. I met him. You know, he's an imposing figure. I just like the look of him. I keep my eyes on him. I follow his journey. I follow his results. I watch him fight. The fighting's not... Yeah. We know he can fight. But it's just something about him that made me think he's the guy. You know, we're going to be signing 4 or 5 Olympians from the Paris cycle. And when I look at the Team GB fighters, I think he's the guy. And, you know, I like going on a journey with fighters that we can just have that relationship with. I want to, you know, look at Katie Taylor last weekend. One of the greatest nights of my life. Yeah. Because it's just the buzz of the journey. You know, I remember when Katie Taylor first walked into the office, telling me she could change the face of female boxing in a professional game. You know, fast forward many years and we're selling out Madison Square Garden, 70,000 at Dallas Cowboys, 70 million watching on Netflix. And that's the moments that you want in life because you can't buy that kind of stuff. And I think we can have those kind of nights with Pat Brown.
I'm sure we can. I'm going to bring up now a couple of people that have known Pat for a long time, been working with him in the gym, and we'll be working with him when he goes pro. Most of you in this audience, because it's got that kind of, this feels like we're in a pub, even though we're in a church in a strange kind of way. It feels like we're in an old style pub. It's got that kind of vibe to it. I'm going to bring up, if I can, Nigel Travis, if I can, and Jamie Moore, the two men who will be in the corner, be shaping him, be watching him, and be keeping him on track.
And Bunce, just before you start, because I noticed as well two men. I mean, one, because I didn't notice him at all.
Because hidden by the moustache.
Because it was Movember.
Yeah.
But a young man in Dave Allen, the heavyweight, going to be taking on Johnny Fisher in Saudi Arabia. A round of applause for the White Rhino.
Hey, Johnny.
Please. And another fighter that, you know, without injury probably would have gone on and fought in the Olympics as well. But someone who's going to be very, very important to boxing in Manchester. Talk about other young talent like William Crawler and other fighters coming through. This young man punches like a mule. You're going to love him. He's going to be debuting in January. Connor Tudsbury as well. A round of applause as well for Connor.
Yeah, if in all fairness, if Connor didn't have no luck, he'd have no luck, because you've had an unfortunate run, haven't you? I mean, it's been incredible. One day, Connor, you could be on this stage, son. That's what I think a lot of fighters are watching this now. They'll be looking at this and they'll be thinking, why didn't I have that? And I know what, the Americans will be pig sick because they don't do this in America. Nigel, nice. You're looking out there. You're looking at some likely arsonists out there. You know, it looks like I think he's recognised a few people. Nigel and Jamie, who first discovered or who first met Pat from the two of you? Was it you, Nigel?
Yeah, I've known Pat obviously for many, many years since we started Moss Side Fire Station Boxing Club. Obviously at the fire station, Pat boxed a neighbour's club. His dad, Solomon Jeng, two great men, Mike Brown and Solomon Jeng, and boxed for Sale West fantastically for many, many years. And we'd watched him from afar, and he was always we thought, a potential opponent for the kid you mentioned before, Connor Tudsbury. And so we've known him a long time, watched him, studied him. He's a fantastic athlete, and that was as a young man. And as I say, he was on a similar trajectory to Connor Tudsbury. And unfortunately, they had to fight. Myself, Solomon, and Mike, we made the bout, and he boxed at the fire station. It was a free show. And I still watch it sometimes on YouTube now. The fact that the two kids went at it, two of our fondest kids, and so I've known him a long time. And the kid can fight. Number one, there's a lot of showcases, a lot of good stuff, but this kid can fight to the very, very core of him.
Now, Jamie, when Nigel first told you about him, you first saw him, I'm assuming the first thing you said was, terrific, absolutely love it, but I think he's a pro, not an amateur. I'm assuming it was something along those lines.
The first time I saw him was when he boxed Connor at the fire station, and I just basically stood there and thought, wow, what a fight between both of them. Showed so much heart, terrific bout, unbelievable bout for a club show. And then before I knew it, he'd come away, he's old man. I always think this is a very gracious thing. He sort of went, I feel like you need to go and learn some other stuff from somebody else, and sent him to Nigel's gym, and which he has done. He went over there, and then the processors took him to GB, and then it took us to where we are today. He's not trained for that often in our gym. He's been there, maybe over the last 12 months, in and out when he's been away from GB. But he's just blatantly obvious how talented he is. And he's such a lovely guy. He's a beautiful, beautiful person. And like Eddie was saying, there's not just one thing what makes a fighter so attractive. You know, it's a combination of different things. But obviously being able to fight is a massive part of that. Being able to attract the crowd and being popular, likeable, having that character. Similar to Ricky Hatton, except being a blue. You can't be a blue, you've got to be a red. And obviously, Pat's a red, and we've never really had that. Anthony Croller brought a little bit of that, but I just feel like Pat has got the type of character which is going to drag him in the droves.
The both of you were around a lot when Ricky was around. You were on the same bills, and obviously you knew Ricky back then, and you mentioned his club, Sal West, where Ricky used to box. I mean, apart from the fact that Pat can pull out a crowd like this, are there other similarities, Ricky? Do you get that sense that he really can walk in those Hatton size 7s?
The likability factor and the fact that it's so exciting to watch. You know, the amateurs and the pros, they're the same sport, but they're polar opposites. You know, the amateurs is a sprint, the pros is a marathon. And you can just tell that Pat will get better as the fight goes on, similar to what Ricky did. He was so exciting, good body puncher. Pat's a good body puncher. So he's cut from the same cloth. He really is. And, over, like Eddie said, it's going to be such an exciting journey because over the next 5, 6, 7 years, it's going to be like a roller coaster.
Now, this mob, these people here have come out. They're sold on Pat Brown. They love Pat Brown. One of the reasons they love Pat Brown is because, as Pat Brown says on that poster, I like having a tear-up. That's my guilty pleasure. That's lovely for that mob. But you three, you get ulcers. So we're either going to stick with that and tone him down or pull him back, or we're just going to let him have a tear-up, which is what everyone wants. And if it's his guilty pleasure, maybe it's our guilty pleasure too, Nigel.
I suppose it's our job to manage that, isn't it? The kid wants to fight.
Yeah.
Kid just wants to fight. And we joke with him in the gym saying he's a caveman. And he is some angry caveman and wants to destroy somebody. But in the Olympics, obviously, so it wasn't great. Mercado, the kid who we fought, the Brazilian, who is a messer, he's a mauler. He wins 2 rounds and then survives. And then he's won it. And that's what he did. He fought him twice. He actually fought him twice. And so we thought he had the blueprint to do it after the first fight because he did exactly the same. But Pat nearly got him out there in the 3rd round. Yeah. So as Jamie said, he'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. And he'll be licking his lips in the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and we want it if they're still there, that is.
The Machado, the guy Pat that beat Pat in the Olympics, had about 90 contests. He'd been in world championships. He'd beaten the guy that won the gold medal at that weight. He was such a brilliant, ugly, successful amateur fighter. But Pat didn't panic. Even if it was tight, it was still a tight enough decision. He didn't panic. When he got out of the ring, he was speaking to me at ringside, and you could just see him going, "Don't worry, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going," because he's going to round 4, and it won't be with Machado. It'll be somewhere in the Manchester area. Jamie, just finally, I asked Eddie that question. How do you hold a kid back that wants to fight for the British title and a world title instantly? You've had that before with other really good fighters. Give us one of your tricks for that. Obviously, Pat's not listening, hopefully.
It's about making sure that when you do let them off the leash, they're prepared for it. Matchmaking is so important, and me, Sam, Eddie, we're always going in with each other, talking about, is this the right guy at the right time? We're doing it with Cameron at the minute. He's 7th fight, and this is his 2nd 10-rounder. And
he's fighting a former British champion who's a big old tough lumps.
Exactly. Good fight. Pat will be ready to go before anybody expects him to go. It's just about us letting him off the lead at the right time and making sure it's not really about getting him to be explosive, powerful, good body puncher, aggressive. He's all those things by nature. It's about protecting his weaknesses and making sure that when he gets in with better fighters, they're not able to exploit him. That's the key thing.
Listen, that's Nigel Travis and that's Jamie Moore, and that's what I would classify as the sensible part of the evening. Fellas, I'm going to say goodbye to you, if I can. Nigel and Jamie, thank you very much indeed. They'll be in the corner. They'll be the 2 men you see. Now, the next man I'm going to bring up, you might have seen once or twice on television, edging closer. This man fights 110% for all of his fighters. And Eddie's right. Maybe he does oversell them sometimes. But you know what? So what? I like that in a man. Sam Jones. Come on, Sam. Up you come. Go on, Sam.
I'll have less of that, Jack.
Yeah, less of that. And, and by the way, there'll be no tricks. I've got no voice messages from anybody, all right? Don't worry.
Right hand to God.
It wasn't a voice message. It was a recorded phone call. Carry on.
Hello, everyone. Right hand to God, yeah. Hold your right hand. It's a joke. Sam, first of all, congratulations on A, working with Pat, and B, securing the deal. What was it like post-Olympics? You're shopping around a kid that lost in his first fight. So the optics, they're not great. He's at the Olympics, which is good, but it's not like he got to the medal or he had to draw a massive fight with someone. So you got to go out and do your work. Or were people coming to you already? 29th of July.
I'll be honest, it wasn't really a difficult sound. I mean, it's hard getting money out of Eddie, but it's even harder getting money out of Frank Smith. So we had to pat his pockets down a little bit. We got there in the end, but it's also not just that. It's more important. See this?
Yeah.
Something else.
This whole thing.
Something different. And when Eddie looked at Pat, I think Eddie didn't have to listen to what I had to say. He looked at him and he was sold himself. So it was a good marriage.
Yeah. So when you're taking him around, was Eddie early on the agenda, or did you know that Eddie would be there? You'd already had conversations with Eddie. I'm looking for a little bit of how, because the people here, they're going to see Pat in the ring, they're going to see Eddie at ringside, they're going to see you at ringside, they're going to see the pair of you in the ring. I like to trace the story because, Pat didn't fly back from Paris and suddenly walk into this church tonight in front of 350 people. Give us a bit of the 2 or 3 month history.
Introduced through Nigel and Jamie, and I'm fortunate enough that he's chose me to look after him alongside Jamie. And then from there, putting the word out, I was give Eddie and Frank Smith a call and spoke to other promoters as well. And look, I think Pat wanted to sign with Matchroom. I think it was Pat's first choice. And when we went over to Eddie's office to speak to Frank, Netflix were all there. It was Pat was just very impressed. And look, it doesn't take me to convince Pat to sign with Ed. Pat made his own decision. He's a 25-year-old man, very mature young man, and he made his decision from there. Eddie and Frank impressed him. It's not just about money, it's the vision. It's the process of making a star, because British boxing is crying out for someone to grab it by the scruff of his neck, and this is going to be the boy.
And someone like Pat, a man that's basically walking at the front of a crowd of 300, 3,000, 30,000, like Ricky, attracting 40,000 people to massive fights in Vegas, selling out the MEN a dozen times, 20,000, 20,000. Did you see Pat in those foot marks?
100%. Look, Jack Cattrall sat there on the verge of a cusp of a world title. He should already be a world champion. That's a story for another day. But you've got Connor Tudsbury, Rhiannon Dixon, Will Crawler, who Eddie's got. He's got a big stable of tremendous fighters.
Big Manchester Knights.
Yeah, big Manchester. Then you're adding Pat Brown to the mix, who's drawing 300 people on a Tuesday night in a church to announce him to
one day's notice.
Yeah, on 1 day's notice. I told Eddie about Johnny Fisher, that Johnny was selling chicken fillets when he wasn't turning professional. And I said, he's going to sell thousands of tickets. And Eddie looked at me like I was on some kind of substance. And then I told him again, this is going to happen with Pat Brown. And it will happen. He's going to be a big ticket seller. But it's his style and the type of person that he is. It's going to draw the average man to come and watch him box. A ferocious style, tremendous left hook to the body, Steve. You're going to love it.
But Sam, before we get the main star out, let's get the born and bred, get the new signing out. At the moment, Johnny Fisher is probably the biggest individual ticket seller in British boxing. Nathan Heaney from Stoke's quite close, but Johnny's probably in charge. Will Pat win that belt in his very first fight? Will Pat become British boxing's best individual? Well, I'll ask you this as well. Will Pat become British boxing's best individual ticket seller in his very first fight?
He has a very, very good chance. I mean, listen to the noise that these lot are making here tonight. It's unbelievable. So if they're making this noise, like I say, on a Tuesday night in a church, Steve, what is it going to be like when he headlines his first show? Because I think that's the plan. We're going to look to, speak to Eddie about that. But I think the plan is to headline him on his debut. And there's not been many to do that on their professional stage. Was AJ a co-main event? Well, AJ was a co. So the last person, Joe Joyce did it. AJ did it,
Yeah.
and I think Pat Brown's going to do it as well, and he's going to have this loud bunch of people backing him on the stage.
So we need.
Come on, let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear that song.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick the Bomber. Oh, Patrick the Bomber. Oh, Patrick the Bomber. Bring him out, Steve. Bring him out, Steve. Bring him out.
Bring him out. Nigel, Travis, Jamie Moore, Sam, you stay there. Eddie, you stay there. Now, some of you probably know what piece of music is going to play now to get the kid out, but straight away it puts a smile on my face. And I've got to tell you, I think there will be thousands of people watching this and maybe millions as we go through his fights. And when he comes out to a tune like this or tunes like this, you just naturally smile. I do anyway. And I just spoke to Pat and he told me why he's chosen this music, and it's absolutely brilliant. He said, because this is the type of music that when you have a family gathering, this is a song that gets everyone up. So if it gets everyone up at a family gathering, it's going to get everyone up at the AO. It's going to get everyone up at the MEN. It's going to get everyone up at whatever the hell it's called these days. Anyway, let's have a bit of music and let's get him in. Let's get Pat Brown in, but let's get the music first. Pat Brown!
That was nice, but Bunce, you missed one thing, like the official welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, the day that he officially turned pro, your very own Patrick the Bomber
Brown!
Oh, Patrick the Bomber! Oh, Patrick the Bomber!
We should just go now to the bar because that's what everyone wants. Pat, listen, that was the sort of welcome you're going to get. It's the sort of welcome that's going to be your life from now on, everywhere you go. Because about 2 days ago, you were just Pat Brown. You're not now. You're Pat the Bomber Brown. You've just turned pro. Millions of people suddenly know who you are. What's it feel like?
Yeah, it's very overwhelming. I got really emotional at the back there because they've had, a day or two notice, and people have, not gone in work today to make this, and City are playing, and there's an event at the Co-op Live, and everyone's obviously come out the way and left work early as well, and it's just that overwhelming. I can't believe it, but yeah, this is what I bring, and I've always been called Pat the Bomber Brown anyway since 11 years of age, so that's nothing new to me, and I've had to live up to that expectation. And in the pro game, I'll be clamping some skulls for sure.
Again, as I said 5 minutes ago, we should just go now because we're not going to. It's just brilliant. Pat, you mentioned the word, their expectation. You had to live up to things, and that's the case now. But I get the feeling, talking to you backstage and talking to you in Paris, I get the feeling you feel like you were made for this. You're in a place now where you always believed you would be. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, going to the Olympics, it's every boxer's dream, and it was certainly mine, but every long-distance road runner was doing, it was always packing out arenas in Manchester, and the pro game was just for me. That's always been my dream deep down, and I've always looked at like the GB setup as just a stepping stone and the foundation to turning over pro, and I've been patient long enough, and now I'm here ready to go.
When I know you had some great crowds when you were an amateur. So you've had this before, where you've been, everyone, thousands, hundreds and hundreds of people have wanted you. But this will go to a different level, Pat. And you probably weren't in Las Vegas with Ricky Hatton, but you know the stories. You probably know people that were. That's where you're going. What's that feel like? And when do you think you might actually get a full night's kit? Because you've got to be flying with adrenaline at the moment.
Yeah, I am flying with it. I was backstage and I was like twisting my body like that. I was getting ready to have a bit of a tear up outside there. But I'm raring to go now, to be honest. It's just built in me. They've travelled far and wide for me all my life, and obviously being on GB, boxing internationally, I've not boxed in the UK for quite some time, and I can't wait to get the ball rolling whenever that'll be. And yeah, some big nights are definitely coming back to Manchester.
During the last couple of weeks, before it was officially announced that you were signing with Matchroom and Sam had done a deal with Eddie, there were loads of rumours floating around. And some of these rumours were wonderful about who you wanted to fight in your first fight, and who the kind of guys that you wanted to fight. So it's my understanding, Pat, that you'd fight just about anybody in your first fight.
My dad's always taught me, he said, fear no man, but there's always someone hard around the corner. And I think if I've got that mindset, I'll be all right. So never be a bully, but yeah, never shy away from no man. So whoever they put in front of me, I'm obviously going to believe in myself. I've never been scared of no one, and I'll get in there and I'll do a job. All this media stuff and that is great, but it's all fluff to me. It's all fog and mist. I just want to get in the ring and get down to business and do what I do proper.
Now, we've got 3,000 here. And it's a great crowd, and I know that you said backstage you could sense it, you could feel it. What do you think it'll be like on fight night itself, when there might be 3,000 people, when there might be 4,000, depending on whatever venue is chosen? There might be 5,000 people for your debut. What's that going to be? What do you think that'll feel like backstage, Pat?
Well, just even now, I'm just really emotional, really. So it'll just rev me up even more, to be honest. And like I said, this is on a day's notice. Never mind when they put it in the calendar, a month before or whenever the announcement's going to be. So yeah, it's just a dream come true. Obviously, people dream of winning a world title and all these belts, and obviously I do. But deep down, I just want to bring massive nights, loads of chanting. Give everyone with the hard-earned money, make sure they get what they need, and it's worth it for them.
So we'll have a little bit of a rehearsal. So Gladys Knight and the Pips is just firing up. Okay, that's the song, that's the intro. You know it's going to be Pat. All of you have come back from wherever it is you've been sitting and drinking and relaxing, and then suddenly the light goes on and you know Pat's coming. Could we just have a trial just to see what it might be like when the first chance, the first moment we get to see Pat as a pro? Can you please give us a little bit of noise and tell me what it'll be like when Pat, stand up, Pat, give him the stand. Pat's standing up, you've seen him in the spotlight. What's it going to be like? Oh, flip, I tell you what, it'd be some special night, won't it? It'd be some absolute special night. So, Eddie, going forward, he's there. You've already got lists of fighters in your head. You must be just so excited about putting him in and hearing that, what we're talking about, 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah, like Pat said, one day's notice. I mean, I don't know how many beers people have had. Probably not too many.
Straight from work.
But imagine 10 weeks notice. Imagine the build-up on a Saturday. You meet 1 o'clock in the afternoon down the local. You get people going. You get the T-shirts. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, you're meeting up. You got the T-shirts going. You got the flags going, and that's what we want. We want to create. Don't forget, these fights are seen all over the world.
Yeah.
And I saw him. When he walked up, it's like the toughest thing is controlling the emotion, because when he walked up there, I could see him, and it's overwhelming to know this kind of support. That first ring walk, and it will be 3,000 or 4,000, and he will be headlining. It's going to be like you can't understand the emotion that will go through him, And I think this kind of following, you haven't seen this kind of following. We talk about, I talk about those guys that just got freak followings. Yeah. Ricky Hatton, Josh Warrington, another good example. Even Lewis Ritson, when he started selling 8,000, 9,000 fighting for the British title. Johnny Fisher. We've got another one here. But, the key really is this is not just some bloke from Manchester who people like, and this is a guy that can really fight, and this is a guy that can win world championships. We just got to get it right. But I just want everyone to have a great time. As a promoter, he wants to entertain and fill arenas. I want to give people value for money when they leave the arena and go, what a night.
You know what? It's given me an idea. I was in Manchester City Centre today, Pat. The two of you. It was really mad. I was up a bit earlier, and I almost got kettled with 3,000 Feyenoord fans, like genuinely, and there's thousands of police. And I just got out of Cathedral Square because it's like an organised route. I mean, these people know I'm telling the truth, and there were thousands of them, thousands and thousands. I just got out of it, and I was thinking, I'm not being an after timer here. And I was thinking, they do that for football. What if we did it for boxing? Yes, we'll do it. What if? No. What if on the day that Pat fights, instead of 3,000 people or 2,000 people coming in groups of 2 and 3, what if we all knew we were going to meet in Cathedral Square? And what if we knew it was 11 o'clock? And then we were going to go either on foot or on trams or wherever the hell it is he fights, as a group. So imagine 1,000 people march into a venue. It's never been done for boxing. People come in on their own. What if we did it as one big group of 2,000 of Pat's bomber army marching through the streets of whatever city he's fighting in? I don't know about you, but I'm fucking up for that, son. I'll have a bit of that. And we get a couple of trumpets, Pat. Get a couple of geezers with trumpets. We get a few of those trombones, those vuvuzelas. What a night that will be. Pat, listen, you're looking out there. What are you seeing? What are you feeling when you're looking out at that crowd, mate?
People say fans, but these are my family and friends. I know every single one of them personally, and I don't see them as fans. I just see them as, just part of me, and I won't be here today without them. And I know people throw that out, but that's the God's honest truth. I lost my cousin at the start of the year before the Olympics to epilepsy, and without these people here supporting me and that, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. And they all travelled to Paris and were cheering me on, and that really got me through the fight a lot, because I had a lot of demons in me head, to be fair. But we're going to carry on his name, and we're going to put it in bright lights like I promised him.
Well said. Yeah, well said. Pat, before we take some questions from the floor, I want to ask you about Paris. Okay, you're coming up against a really seasoned Brazilian international who knew how to win international fights. Afterwards, obviously, you were a bit down, but really, you were looking into the future. Was the Olympics still a priceless experience? Was it still something that's unbelievable?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the Olympic Village, you have loads of different nationalities. You got basketballers up here and then gymnasts down here. You're seeing things you would never see in one room, to be fair.
There's no need for that. It's outrageous.
But if you want me to be truthfully honest, I wanted to get away from the razzmatazz and go and play a bit of golf, go and see my family and that, and that's where I'm truly at, really. And I was looking forward to getting back home and walking my dog and just getting back into my normal routine. I love obviously, the build-up and everything around it, but I just want to get in there, have a fight, and then go back to me comforts in just being around me loved ones.
Do you think you'll have to do things differently because, you're Pat Brown now? You're different Pat Brown than you were yesterday. I'm convinced of that. And as you're leading into this big fight, this debut you're going to have, I mean, I don't know, do you live at home? Do you live with someone? You say you got your dog. Will you have to stick him in a hotel, an undisclosed location? Because everyone's got a bit of Pat Brown. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of Pat Brown, trust me, but there's an awful lot of people want a bit of Pat Brown.
No, I think he's level-headed enough, but I think he was like a caged animal on fight week. So, Eddie, you'll have to probably throw the checkbook out and get him in a hotel a bit
sharpish.
Yeah, a bit sharpish for a bit of a longer period of time. But no, he'll be fine, and he'll absolutely do the business.
And you know what we'd be able to do, Ed? We'd be able to do that thing we used to do with Ricky Hatton when we used to do live radio. We'd go out and the line at the MGM going to the weigh-in, and I'd have a bet with the person. I'd be in Vegas, and there'd be someone presenting in Salford, and I'd say, I'm just going to go out and stop 10 random people in this queue, 3,000 people queuing up to see Ricky Hatton weigh in, 5,000 people queuing up. Some of you guys were there, and we'd just tap 10 random people on the shoulder, and I'd say, hi, are you over for the fight? Yeah, of course you are. Tell me your Ricky Hatton story. I didn't even ask them. I'd say, tell me your Ricky Hatton story. And they'd say, well, he used to go out with my sister, I swear to you, or he went to school with my brother, or his brother was best mates with my cousin. Every single person, Pat, had a personal Ricky Hatton story. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking at this. This bit was going to be the same. Every man and woman that goes to a Pat Brown fight is going to have a Pat Brown story. That's going to be staggering.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my dad runs a boxing gym and he does well for the community where we live in Manchester. And he also loves being in the boozer with the boys. And I think it's important, you know, where boxing now, I know social media is massive and stuff, and a lot of boxers, they build themselves from social media, which is obviously great. But with me, I'm more of like the old school way, like Ricky.
Shaking hands gang.
Yeah, like my dad always told me in the pubs and stuff, his dad be selling the tickets and he would always be in the pubs afterwards. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be piling loads of weight and all that, but I always like getting in the pubs and playing some darts and playing some snooker and having a laugh with the boys. And yeah, it's where it's at. You need to, you can't forget the people who have brought you here.
Oh, well said indeed, Pat. Now we're going to throw this open to the floor. We were going to try and organise some questions beforehand, but I think we've got a microphone. Who's got the microphone, Matty or Dan? Which can I see the person with the mic? And if you've got a question, I'll tell you what to do. If you've got a question for Pat or for Sam or for Eddie, if you just raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. If you put your hand up, we'll get a microphone to you if anyone's got a question. You got a question? Is that hand up? I can see. Can't see because of the light. Here we go, over there, just on the left, Matty. About 5 rows back, end of the row.
Who is it?
There we go.
There we go. This side.
Yeah, this round there. This is always the smooth part of the show, this bit.
Like supermarket sweep. There we go.
So just tell us who you are and tell us your question, friend. Thank you.
So yeah, my name is Ibrahim. I have a TikTok channel called Mr. MMA Madman, and my question is for Pat today is, you've got so many people here from not just Manchester but around England. So in general, how does it feel, and how does it feel that your life's completely changed ever since the Olympics, and obviously not being able to walk out on the streets without getting stopped by anyone who's watched your fights? How does it feel about that?
Yeah, it's to be honest, I stay in the same routine when I get back home, so it's familiar faces I see, and obviously tonight it has been really overwhelming where, you know, on a day's notice I brought this many people out, and I always underestimate myself in terms of how many people I can bring to a place. So it's just more kind of, I don't even really know how to put into words, to be honest. I don't think it does it justice how much it just means to me, to be fair. But yeah, when I start walking out and people are stopping me and stuff, it'll just put a fire in my stomach to put on a good night of boxing for him in the future.
Pat, I was in the. Thanks very much, everyone. I was obviously in Paris, and I know you had a big old group of people that were coming, that had travelled out because they were all in some hotel having a good bevy and a good time. Do you like the idea of that going forward? I don't just mean going to London. Do you like the idea of a New York fight or a Vegas fight or a Riyadh fight?
And I know we've been talking about obviously Manchester fights and stuff like that, but all the boys, they always say we don't want these fights, we want the away days, and Viva Las Vegas. That's where they want.
Wait, Steve. Don't worry, guys. It's in the contract. away days in the contract.
And they won't just be coming for the boxing in Vegas, let me tell you that.
When in Las Vegas, at the airport in Las Vegas, after Ricky fought, they had a machine there. There's no word of lie. They had a machine at the airport that sold Ugg boots. Now, bear in mind, this is back in 2007, and Uggs were fairly new. And, of course, 99% of the people there were men. And they'd spent 6 days drinking and watching Ricky Hatton and doing other things. They hadn't really thought about the person at home, either their mums, their sisters, their girlfriends or their wives. No word of a lie. This is a true story. They were queuing like 50 deep to buy their wives and partners Ugg boots from this boxing machine. So we might have the same thing. So who would go to Las Vegas with Pat?
Jack Catchall says yes.
Viva Las Vegas. Did Jack put his hand up? Oh, that's Jack. Go on, don't put your right hand up. So, Pat, what message, as we come to a close here, and it's been a quite I mean, you think it's emotional. This is an overwhelming crowd because you can sense the love in the room. What message have you got for these people and the people listening and the people watching as we go forward? What can you promise us for next year, Pat?
I just thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, honestly. Like I said, I can't really put it into words how much it means to me, but you can tell by how I treat everyone in here. We know each other, and yeah, it just means everything. And in terms of going forward, this is just the start now. The lid's been taken off. Everyone knows who I'm going with, and everyone knows the direction I'm going in also. It's always been speculation, but we all know where I belong. And yeah, come early next year, I'll be having a fight, and yeah, it's going to be great to get everyone together, and we're going to start something great.
And Eddie, when might we get news of Pat's debut? When might we get news of that?
I think hopefully before the end of the year. You know, the plan is for a big homecoming debut in March, but we've got to make sure that he's ready, confident, you know, and we've got to start this journey right. You know, before we close, I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Genuinely, as I said, he was petrified that, you know, it was like having a birthday party, just praying everybody turns up. And they turned up, the atmosphere was great. And, you know, I think we just want to have a good time. We just want to put a smile on people's faces. We just want to create nights out and experiences that make us feel great. And I think, you know, as mad as you are, Buncey, the idea about coming together and...
It's a good one, isn't it, bro?
March, I like it. I can see it now. And we want to create that kind of experience. You know, we want to create a great following. And, you know, Pat will owe a debt of gratitude to everybody who's not just here tonight, but on the journey, because they've helped him get this opportunity along with his great performances as an amateur. Yeah. And, you know, we've got to provide those people with great experiences. So there will be a homecoming in March, and there will be an away day, probably many of them in 2025 as well. But, you know, we can't wait to get underway. And, again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. Means a lot just to Pat, to us and the team, and we're all 100% behind the journey.
And I think you'll all agree that thanks to Sam, thanks to Nigel, thanks to Jamie, obviously thanks to Eddie, but really thanks to the man that you've all come out for here and the man that you're going to continue to come out for. So let's have a proper rousing, a real rousing. Let's lift the roof off this. By the way, what a building. For Pat, whatever, don't upset his mother, the bomber, yeah, got that in right at the end. Brown. Please, let's hear it. Well done, Pat. Stand up, son. Oh, so if we could have just 1 second, if we could have one, just for our picture, if we could have one last mad, relentless, ridiculous series of chanting, hands up, screaming, everything, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3! Thanks, mate.
Well done, mate. Well done, mate.
No, thank you, thank you.